Good evening, you are watching ReNEWS in English. I am Sona Tumanyan. An era of peace has arrived, and the patron of peace is Donald Trump. The 7-point memorandum was signed, and after the pre-signing of the peace treaty, they say the signing itself is not far behind. Trump made a direct entry into the Caucasus, surely provoking the anger or at least the anxiety of the other strong players in the region. Trump recorded that after 35 years of fighting, Armenia and Azerbaijan are now friends. He added that he loves it when good people meet. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, Senator Steve Daines. They were at the foundation of the success of this agreement by Trump, as the 47th President of the United States noted. Let's refresh the memories of the trilateral meeting with a report.
Donald Trump's evening, described as historic, began this way. First, he received Nikol Pashinyan. Memorandums of understanding were signed on partnership in the field of energy security, artificial intelligence, and the development of the crossroads of peace capabilities.
We don't have any ReOpen.
After meeting with Aliyev, the trilateral meeting began. Through Trump's mediation, the pre-signing of the peace agreement took place first. Then the signing ceremony of the trilateral declaration occurred. From this text, it became clear that Armenia and Azerbaijan have applied to the OSCE to dissolve the Minsk Group. The next point revealed that a road named after Trump will be established in the territory of Armenia.
Memorandum Point 3. We reaffirmed the importance of opening communications between the two countries for domestic, bilateral, and international transport based on the respect for the sovereignty, territorial integrity, and jurisdiction of states, with the aim of promoting peace, stability, and prosperity in the region and its neighborhood. These efforts will include unimpeded communication between the main part of the Republic of Azerbaijan and the Nakhichevan Autonomous Republic through the territory of the Republic of Armenia, with mutual benefits for international and domestic communication for the Republic of Armenia.
The framework for the implementation of the communication project, named Trump's Pathway for International Peace and Prosperity, is yet to be defined. At the end of the declaration, a reference is made to the Alma-Ata Declaration, emphasizing that conditions for good neighborly relations have been created based on the principles of the inviolability of international borders and the inadmissibility of the use of force to acquire territories. The text then contains the following phrase.
Memorandum Point 5. We recognize the need to chart a bright future not predetermined by past conflict in accordance with the United Nations Charter and the 1991 Alma-Ata Declaration. After a conflict that caused unspeakable human suffering, conditions have finally been created for our peoples to begin good neighborly relations based on the principles of the inviolability of international borders and the inadmissibility of the use of force to acquire territories. This reality, which is not and should never be subject to revision, paves the way for closing the page of enmity between our two peoples. We decisively reject and rule out any attempt at revenge now and in the future.
This reality, which is not and should never be subject to revision, paves the way for closing the page of enmity between our two peoples. We decisively reject and rule out any attempt at revenge now and in the future. Nikol Pashinyan stated that the pre-signing of the peace agreement will pave the way for an end to the decades-long conflict between our countries and will open a new era based on full respect for each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity.
Very importantly, we have also resolved the key issue that foiled previous negotiations. This declaration establishes what they are calling a great honor for me. I didn't ask for this. The Trump route for international peace and prosperity, which is a special transit area that will allow Azerbaijan to get full access to its territory of Nakhichevan while fully respecting Armenia's sovereignty. So they're going to be able to really live and work together, and it's amazing. So that's a very important territory, I guess, very special territory to you, and now they work together. Armenia is also creating an exclusive partnership with the United States to develop this corridor, which could extend for up to 99 years, and then they promise in 99 years they'll extend it, right? You'll promise.
Nikol Pashinyan stated that the pre-signing of the peace agreement will pave the way for an end to the decades-long conflict between our countries and will open a new era based on full respect for each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity.
The initialing of peace agreement will pave the way to end the decades of conflict between our countries and open a new era based on the full respect for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of each other. Today's declarations, which President Trump personally will sign as well as witness, gives confidence and assurance that we're opening a chapter of peace, prosperity, security, and economic cooperation in the South Caucasus.
Aliyev, who has a wonderful mastery of the art of what to say, where, and when, thanked Trump with reverent bows, saying what he wanted to hear, that for 30 years no one could solve this issue, but he succeeded and finally proposed, jointly with Nikol Pashinyan, to appeal to the Nobel Committee to award the Peace Prize to Trump.
The fact that it is initialed here in the capital #1 of the world, in the office #1 of the world, and in front of the great president of the United States means that there should be no doubts and no suspicions that any of the sides would step back. If any of us, Prime Minister Pashinyan or myself, had in mind to step back, we wouldn't have come here. So you can be absolutely sure, as well as Azerbaijani community, that what has happened today will result in peace, long-lasting peace, eternal peace in the Caucasus.
To a question from an Armenian journalist about what would happen if one of the parties violates the agreements, Trump said, "You can call me." Aliyev also answered that question. The question about the possibility of the return of the people of Artsakh was left unanswered by everyone. The prisoners of war were not mentioned at all, but they ended the event in high spirits, stressing that the historic event is now reality and that finally Armenians and Azerbaijanis will live in peace and there will be no more war. Donald Trump gave his guests a warm farewell and left. David Sarksyan, ReOpen Media.
The page of enmity is closed, and in the case of living in a win-or-lose mode, defeat is inevitable. These are the words of Prime Minister Pashinyan from a briefing that took place immediately after the signing of the memorandum regarding Trump's path. The Armenian Prime Minister stated that peace has been established and the signing of this memorandum must be followed by consistent practical steps. In a press conference after the signing, Pashinyan announced, "Today we can say that peace has been achieved." Let me note that after the briefing at 8 a.m. Yerevan time, Nikol Pashinyan also answered questions sent by Armenian media outlets with theses that were almost identical in content.
Immediately after the event, Nikol Pashinyan decided to give a press conference to Armenian journalists, although it had been previously announced he would speak at 8 in the morning.
The unblocking of the Republic of Armenia is taking place. The Republic of Armenia will thus have the opportunity to have a railway connection with the outside world. And I also want to state that a railway connection from Armenia to Armenia through the territory of Azerbaijan, including, as we know, there are different roads which are also about the connection from Armenia to Armenia and can pass through Azerbaijan.
Pashinyan emphasized that there is no corridor logic in the documents, that all roads will be used reciprocally in the same way, under the same conditions.
When making any comment, any perception regarding what happened, one must rely on the text. The text has been published, so everything that exists is written in the text. What is not in the text, therefore, does not exist.
Trump's road is a major investment project. According to Pashinyan, this will be the largest investment project of the Third Republic, and the Trump Route project is not just about the railway. Potential pipelines are of key importance here: gas pipelines, oil pipelines, and electricity transmission lines that will pass through Armenia. According to him, the project fully corresponds to the interests of the region because, according to him, Iran gets a railway opportunity from the Persian Gulf to the Black Sea. Russia also gets a railway connection to Iran through our region.
We have the opportunity to have a railway connection with the Russian Federation, with Kazakhstan, with the countries of Central Asia, with China, with the Islamic Republic of Iran, and so on and so forth. And of course, with Azerbaijan, and I hope and I am convinced that in parallel with the peace process, bilateral economic ties will also be activated.
What guarantee is there that these agreements will be maintained, considering we have the sad experience of November 9th? This time, instead of Russia, it's the United States.
This formula, which we adopted today, we have similarly proposed to the Russian Federation, and we remember there was a trilateral working group that dealt with the issue of regional communications. We have always expressed our readiness to work with this logic there, and it never became clear to us why, nevertheless, it was obstructed directly or indirectly.
About the prisoners, Pashinyan assures that he has one principle: not to announce anything in advance. He urges not to doubt that this issue has been discussed in great detail and at the highest level, and they will consistently resolve all related issues. David Sarksyan, ReOpen Media.
After a meeting of this nature, the phone calls do not give each other a turn. The Prime Minister of Armenia presented what happened at the White House to the President of Russia during a phone conversation. Nikol Pashinyan informed Vladimir Putin about the pre-signing of the agreement on peace and interstate relations between Armenia and Azerbaijan. The joint application to the OSCE to dissolve the OSCE Minsk Group mechanisms, the unblocking of regional communications, and the Trump's path for international peace and prosperity project. The Prime Minister expressed his conviction that the establishment of peace between Armenia and Azerbaijan opens new opportunities not only for Armenia and Azerbaijan but also for all countries in the region. Pashinyan and Putin agreed to continue active contacts and political dialogue. The Kremlin reports that in the telephone conversation initiated by the Prime Minister of Armenia, Vladimir Putin spoke about the main results of his conversation with Wittkov and the preparations for a meeting with Trump in Alaska. I'll mention this fact later, but now Nikol Pashinyan welcomed the steps aimed at a peaceful settlement of the Ukrainian crisis. A phone conversation also took place with the president of the other strong player in the region, Iran's Masoud Pezeshkian. Again, the results of the negotiations were summarized, and the Prime Minister of Armenia emphasized the opportunities that the established peace between Armenia and Azerbaijan opens up for the region. According to the official statement, Pashinyan stressed that regional communication routes will operate based on the principles of territorial integrity, sovereignty, jurisdiction of the countries, and on the basis of reciprocity. The Prime Minister thanked the President of Iran for his objective assessments of the Washington Agreement and emphasized the importance of the upcoming visit of the President of the Islamic Republic to the Republic of Armenia. I should also add that the President of Iran has no objections to the road passing through Armenia and has noted that what is presented in media publications is exaggerated and Iran's demands are satisfied. He has said that Araghchi presented a report on the issue, and this has been decided to continue discussing the matter with Armenian officials. The President of Iran has noted that the principle of preserving territorial integrity is observed in this matter, establishing a connection with Europe rather than its closure from Iran's north, as Israel desired. The Iranian president's only concern is that the road will be built by an American company. In the post-negotiation timeline with Iran following the U.S. visit, the Deputy Foreign Minister of Armenia is also expected to travel to Tehran. Presumably, the Iranian Foreign Ministry will form a complete picture of the Washington meeting right after the meeting with him. Araghchi has expressed confidence that the issue of a corridor through the territory of Armenia has been completely removed from the agenda. The discussion is about the transit road that will be built under the sovereignty and jurisdiction of Armenia. The joint statement of Armenia and Azerbaijan presents three principles: respect for the sovereignty of the countries in the region, respect for territorial integrity, and opposition to any border changes. This is in full compliance with Iran's position, said Araghchi. The world continues to welcome the U.S.-Armenia-Azerbaijan peace agenda. King Abdullah II of Jordan had a congratulatory call with Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan. Pashinyan expressed his conviction that the agreements reached will bring great benefits to the entire region. The interlocutors agreed to develop and deepen bilateral relations, and the world's enthusiastic opinions and support for any step towards peace were collected by David Genjoyan.
There has been a flood of reactions from the international community after the signing of the 7-point memorandum between Armenia and Azerbaijan in Washington last night. On behalf of the European Union, a statement was issued by the High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Kaja Kallas.
We highly value the efforts of both sides and the U.S. administration to use the favorable moment created and to ensure progress. It is now important to ensure the timely implementation of the agreed steps, in particular the signing and ratification of the peace treaty.
The President of the European Council, Antonio Costa, also welcomed the pre-signing of the Armenia-Azerbaijan peace treaty.
An important step by President Aliyev and Prime Minister Pashinyan, which paves the way towards a long-lasting, stable peace.
France is also in a supportive position. Paris also considers the dissolution of the Minsk Group, of which France was a long-standing co-chair, to be acceptable. The Croix d'Orsay has stated that the normalization of relations and the prompt signing of a peace treaty should be an important step towards making the South Caucasus a region of peace and prosperity. The department noted that the agreements contribute to regional connectivity, the opening of borders, and the strengthening of the sovereignty of states based on the principles of the 1991 Alma-Ata Declaration. In his microblog on X, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom congratulated Armenia and Azerbaijan from Downing Street.
I appreciate the important role of the U.S. President in securing this breakthrough. As I told U.S. Vice President Vance, the United Kingdom is ready to support peace in the South Caucasus as both sides fulfill their commitments.
Welcoming the signing of the document in Washington, German Foreign Minister Johann Wadephul emphasized that Berlin is ready to support both countries on the path to lasting peace. He noted that Germany has provided 27.5 million euros in humanitarian aid and supported confidence-building measures, including the European Union mission in Armenia. Turkey is more than enthusiastic. The Turkish Foreign Ministry welcomed the progress made by Armenia and Azerbaijan on the path to establishing a stable peace and the commitments they made in Washington in this direction.
In a phase of escalating international conflicts and crises, this step is a significant event towards regional peace and stability. We highly value the role of the U.S. in this process.
The most resonant reaction to these developments came from Iran. The neighboring country's foreign ministry stated that peace and stability in the Caucasus are beneficial to all countries in the region. But this approval does not prevent Iran from also expressing concern concern about the negative consequences of foreign intervention in the region. Iran, however, is ready for constructive cooperation, including in the 3+3 format. The Iranian Foreign Ministry has a clear position. The creation and unblocking of communication routes will serve the stability, security, and economic development of the nations of the region only if it is within the framework of mutual interests, respect for the national sovereignty and territorial integrity of the countries of the region, and without external interventions. The Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps on its Telegram channel recalled the negotiations between the leaders of Israel and Palestine years ago with the participation of United States President Bill Clinton, and also posted photos with an accompanying caption.
Were they able to ensure peace in the region? No, nothing has changed.
The former ambassador of Iran to Azerbaijan, Mousavi, stated on Iranian state television that Dear Mr. Trump has interfered in the relations between Azerbaijan and Armenia, which is both interesting and dangerous. Concerns have also been voiced from Russia. State Duma Deputy Konstantin Zatulin commented on the meeting.
Now, first and foremost, thanks to Pashinyan, there are no more Armenians in Karabakh, and there is no Lachin corridor, while the Zingizur corridor is emerging. And no one should have any doubts. This project is directed against the interests of Russia and Iran, against the North-South corridor to satisfy Turkey's ambitions towards the Caspian and Central Asia.
The president of Kazakhstan, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, considers the Washington Declaration a historic achievement.
The document has put an end to the long-term military conflict between the two states and has opened the way for the establishment of diplomatic relations and the development of cooperation between them based on a long-lasting peace.
The Washington Agreement between Armenia and Azerbaijan will bring new opportunities and challenges to the region. According to experts, mutual trust and the wise use of international support are necessary for stable progress. David Janjoyan, ReOpen Media.
The issue of prisoners of war continues to be the focus of public and media attention, which Nikol Pashinyan briefly addressed in his press conference. The Prime Minister's press secretary commented on the news and videos circulating on various social and media platforms in which Trump supposedly talks about his intention to speak with Aliyev about returning the Armenian hostages, and Pashinyan, according to the authors of the video, advises not to include that issue in the memorandum. Absurd assumptions are circulating on the internet that Prime Minister Pashinyan in Washington allegedly opposed the return of our compatriots held in captivity in Azerbaijan or part of them. The Prime Minister has repeatedly stated that representatives of Armenia continuously raise this issue in their meetings in various formats and seek solutions. She wrote, assuring that during the meeting with President Donald Trump, the issue was discussed at the initiative of Prime Minister Pashinyan himself. Moreover, the Prime Minister spoke about the issue as a whole and not partially, emphasized Nikol Pashinyan's press secretary. Turkey will be enjoying its satisfaction and enthusiasm for a long time to come, and President Tayyip Erdogan intends to discuss the agreements reached between Armenia and Azerbaijan at the White House on August 8th and their consequences with members of the government today. The CNN Talk television channel reports that the situation in Gaza is also on the agenda of the meeting. It is expected that Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan will present a report on these topics. Regarding the different interpretations of the Washington documents, Foreign Minister Ararat Mirzoyan clarified that the operation of infrastructure, including that to be built in Armenia with American partnership, will take place within the framework of the country's territorial integrity, sovereignty, and jurisdiction, and will ensure mutual benefits. He emphasized that with the agreement reached through the Washington Declaration, Armenia is being unblocked, something the Republic has strived for 35 years. According to Mirzoyan, Armenia will henceforth gain access to and be able to use Azerbaijan's railway infrastructure for its international trade. Amidst these intense negotiations, the date and location of the Trump-Putin meeting also became clear. Donald Trump has announced that he will meet with Vladimir Putin in Alaska on August 15 to negotiate an end to the war in Ukraine. Speaking on social media and to reporters at the White House, Trump mentioned that the parties, including Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, are close to a peace deal that could involve an exchange of territories. In response to Trump, Zelensky stated in his morning address that the answer to Ukraine's territorial question is already in the constitution of Ukraine. No one will be able to and will not back down from it. Ukrainians will not give their land to the occupier, he said. Of course, the international news feed has been revolving around Armenia, the US, and Azerbaijan in recent days, but let's not forget there is other news in the world. In Poland, the assistant to the military attaché of Hayastanic in Ukraine has been arrested on espionage charges. The Angel of Spetsnaz Telegram channel writes that British special services are preparing a major anti-Russian sabotage in the Black Sea. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov, against a backdrop of NATO threats, has declared that the Federation will ensure the security of the Kaliningrad region by all means, and also emphasized that Russia possesses other powerful and state-of-the-art weapons besides the Oreshnik. The European Union, in the context of the Putin-Trump meeting scheduled for August 15 in Alaska, is demanding participation in negotiations on the fate of Ukraine, while Trump makes a post about clearing Washington of the homeless, also adding that criminals will have nowhere to go as they will be jailed. Let's get acquainted with the noteworthy episodes of the World News Feed in one video sequence together.
Russian airstrikes on Sunday night in several regions of Ukraine, including Donetsk and Sumy, damaged residential homes and infrastructure, resulting in at least one death. Ukraine's air defense shot down 70 drones. Ukraine struck an industrial facility in the Saratov region, causing one death and a fire at an oil refinery. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky supported the statement by European leaders for a just and sustainable peace for Ukraine, emphasizing that peace negotiations must take into account Ukraine's sovereignty. New Zealand and Australia are discussing the recognition of a Palestinian state during the UN General Assembly in September to promote a two-state solution. New Zealand's Foreign Minister Winston Peters noted that the decision will be based on the country's principles and an assessment of Palestine's viability. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese stated that recognition is conditioned on Palestinian reforms and the exclusion of Hamas, while also criticizing Israel's expansion of illegal settlements. Both countries aim to promote peace and a solution to the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu defended the planned military offensive on Gaza, stating that the goal is the demilitarization of Gaza and the final defeat of Hamas, not occupation. He criticized the international response, calling it a global campaign of lies, and declared that Israel will continue operations in the short term while allowing more foreign journalists access to Gaza. Amidst growing discontent in Israel and abroad, the families of hostages held in Gaza and protesters have called for a general strike to be declared to stop the war. During an event in Florida, Pakistan's military chief Azim Munir compared India to a shiny Mercedes and Pakistan to a truck loaded with gravel, attempting to emphasize his country's strength. Social media users mocked his words, considering them an indirect admission of India's superiority. Jordan will host a meeting of U.S. and Syrian officials on Tuesday to discuss support for Syria's reconstruction, more than a decade after the conflict and the ousting of former leader Bashar al-Assad. The meeting will be attended by Syrian Foreign Minister Assad al-Shibani and U.S. Special Representative Thomas Barak, Jordan's foreign ministry reported. On Wednesday, Damascus signed 12 contracts worth a total of $14 billion, including agreements with Qatar and the UAE for the construction of an airport and a metro system. David Genjoyan, ReOpen Media.
She brings springs of love even in the summer and proves every day that without love there is no spring. And all 365 days are about the love of life and the year when you live with the music of Elvina Makarian. Unheard songs on one vinyl, which was released yesterday in Yerevan, presenting a unique celebration for the lovers of the artist. A concert, a memorial evening, simply an exchange of love, initiated by Armenia and with the performance of her songs. And if you are still wondering what is important in the short life, I will prompt you with the words of Elvina Makarian's song. Of course, it's love. Spin love inside you like a vinyl so that spring may come.
Elvina Makarian's jazz soul will once again resonate in the heart of Yerevan today, presenting her voice, longed for by many, and the freedom of jazz. At Cami Club, her album of unreleased songs will see the light of day, for the first time opening new pages of her creative work. Elvina Makarian's new album includes 6 unheard songs performed in English. Recorded years ago but remaining unknown until now, these works have been brought to life on a vinyl record. Created through the efforts of Grigor Vaharmanian and Vahagmar Tirasonian, the record has reinforced vinyl culture and Armenia. The initiative was supported by Armen Agajanyan, whose vision and dedication are giving new life to Elvina's legacy.
She was my teacher, then she became my sister. We were in daily contact. Her humor, her knowledge, she could negotiate with you on any topic. She was the first, standing at the origins of our Armenian jazz and presenting Armenian jazz art.
Rita Sukyasyan, the lyricist for the new songs, is one of the fortunate ones who had contact with Elvina. She says she would listen to the music, try to imagine what Elvina wanted to say, in what tone and with what emotions, and would write lyrics that, in her opinion, expressed Elvina's very thoughts. Avit Barsagyan is completing the songs from Armen Agajanyan's archive that were preserved without lyrics.
As a condition, there is such an unwritten rule that I write the lyrics. To touch, to approach the genius of Elvina is very interesting because you cannot approach Elvina's songs with simple thinking, with a flat, hit-making mindset. It forces you to step out of your own, as she used to say, and fight against cliché.
On the stage of Cami Club, singers revived the beloved works of the star from the 70s and 80s, paying homage to every note to the one-time queen of Armenian jazz. They remarked that they wish there were more such events in the city.
They persuaded me for quite a long time that I should sing Elvina because of the vocal similarity. I didn't actually want to emphasize that, but as soon as I started singing Elvina's songs, I realized that I love old school songs and it's important for me to sing songs of such quality. I love Second Love, which I will be performing today, by the way. The song Love of God is wonderful to me. I can speak about musical freedom because in her songs, in her performance, that's the first thing that impresses. I have noticed that. She doesn't think about how she should perform at that moment. She does it as she feels it, and that's very close to me because I am that type of person.
The hit songs can have such a light, simple musical structure, but internally they are quite dense. You have to write on a deeper level, because in that case, the music rejects flat things. The music doesn't perceive it.
Elvina passed away at the age of 56 after the death of her 28-year-old son. Armen Agajanyan notes that she was not resentful of life. Her attitude towards the colors of life had changed.
It was the problem of being born at the wrong time and promoting music at the wrong time, because perhaps it was never forbidden, but the problem was that they didn't understand her music. In the Soviet era, people were not ready to listen to such music because it was closed off. That informative field didn't exist. Now was the time to promote her music even more, because as distorted as our pop art is now, we have an even greater need for Elvina's music, because your child is raised first and foremost on the foundations of music and culture.
Elvina Makarian's music came alive again, bringing back her jazzy freedom. Other songs of hers are still waiting in the archives, ready to be released at their own time. Anna Harutunyan, Edgar Guloyan, ReOpen Media.
For more updates, follow us on YouTube, Telegram, Instagram, X, and Facebook. I am Sona Tumanyan. Stay informed with ReNews. Goodbye.